moving on to the last team of the draft review, and it only feels like it should be, and also well, it has to be the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl runner-up, the reigning Super Bowl runner-up, and the reigning Super Bowl
No,
champions.
I don't think it's a
I
thing.
think that's a
Yeah.
thing, right? We'll make it a thing. Um, but all in all, so now they technically
Yeah.
started in the second round of the draft, but their first overall pick was trading for Orlando Brown Jr. from the Baltimore Ravens. And I really like that pick a lot. I think they weren't going to be able to pay for Eric Fisher. That was going to be really expensive. They have some tight cap space to begin with as well. Um, and getting Orlando Brown Jr. from the Ravens, I thought that was
Hmm.
a win-win for both parties involved.
Yeah. No, I
So
agree. I
that
agree.
essentially being the first round pick, I thought that was a great first round pick. Uh, yeah. Uh, then I kind of liked their next two picks as well. Nick Bolton out of Missouri was one of the higher rated linebackers out of this class. I thought he had a solid career. I think he's an overall solid linebacker out of Missouri. Played some good competition in the SEC. And I think the Creed Humphrey pick, I'm curious how that one's going to pan out
Yeah.
because it's adding to the linebacker depth. Sorry, the offensive line depth. Um,
Hmm.
and he had a solid career at Oklahoma as well.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think
I
he'll
mean
probably be able
this
to sit a
Kansas City
year and maybe
offensive line
move
is going
into
to be
guard
totally
or stay at
revamped.
center. Um,
So I mean with
and
Orlando Brown, Creed Humphreys, and then they brought in another guy.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um, yeah. No, not in the draft. After.
offensive lineman, you mean
Uh,
in the
I don't
draft?
remember off the top of my head his name, but uh,
Oh, okay.
that it's going to be totally new. I mean, it, uh, they should have one of the better offensive lines in the league next year.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
mm,
Well, they did have a good offensive line. They just got decimated with
outside of
injuries.
the tackle
I,
position,
I,
they
I
really
I
weren't
thought I
that
thought they
good.
had a solid offensive line with their starters,
No,
but then
I mean, like I guess
they
based
weren't
off
that
of
good
like
outside of that. Okay.
win win percentage maybe, but like interior talent, they really struggle to run the ball against more packed
Yeah.
fronts. The problem is when you play Kansas City, you can't pack the front. Uh, and like I remember when New England played them last year, New England was able to get almost all the pressure that they wanted up the
Yeah.
middle,
So they were able to get
and
away
they
with
would
it.
only bring five guys. And so,
Yeah. It that honestly, because you're absolutely right. The pressure that they were able to put on Mahomes, it was almost like an MVP
yeah,
worthy effort, like a loser MVP. Like if there was an MVP for the loser,
yeah.
like Mahomes had probably the best losing MVP game ever. Like
Yeah.
some of those highlight reels, like it still amazes me. Like, cause he was under pressure so much in that game. They still show the one highlight of him parallel to the ground throwing the ball
Yeah.
towards the end of the
Oh,
game, and people are like, what an amazing throw. And I'm like, yeah, that was an
well,
incomplete pass.
well,
Like that pass was not
he
completed, but
did
it was
that. He was
so
30
incredible he
yards
was
down the
able to
field.
get that
He's
throw off
parallel, and then he
30
hits
yards
the
down the
receiver in the
field.
face mask. Like,
Yeah, yeah, but but at that point, it really is. It's like you would have been awesome to
yeah.
catch it, but at that point, it was pointless in the game because the game was over
Yeah.
essentially.
No.
But it was such an athletic feat for him to just get the ball off, whereas it was insane. And like, but that's where if if you're Mahomes, and I think this is one of the things that Andy Reid
Mhm.
does really well, and I think he knows this
Yeah.
is you need to have a solid offensive core, and the core is that offensive line, and they're needing to build that up. They're needing to increase that interior because they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
No.
Did they do
I
they
don't
still have
think so.
Le'Veon Bell? Okay, well, still
He's a
uh,
free agent.
uh, they even if
Le'Veon
they
Bell's a
don't,
free agent.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still a good three down, huh? He's free agent.
Yeah.
So potentially they could still sign him because I thought that was a good tandem between the two of them. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think, is a good three down back, and bringing in Orlando Brown Jr. at the guard, and then now you do double up with Creed Humphrey if he comes in and plays,
Yeah.
or if he sits a year and is a good uh, a six man, a potential swing tackle as well, to help solidify the run game. Because if they can solidify the run game and can
Yeah,
run the
yeah.
ball at
I
will, then
mean,
that's
they
just going to
have
open up the
two of the
rest of that
best weapons
offense,
in
which is
football now,
already
in Travis
open to
Kelsey
begin
and
with.
Tyreek Hill. They did lose Sammy Watkins, uh, and they are going to start to struggle to pay defensive players. But
Yeah,
honestly, if that defense can hold people to less than 30 points, then. But
yeah,
for me,
yeah.
mm,
Well, and that's why I
yeah,
felt like that's why I kind of
yeah,
like that
no,
Nick
and he's
Bolton
he's a
pick
very
because if
instinctive
there was a weakness
linebacker.
I really
I
saw
think
on that
I
team
think he'll come in and have a
defensively,
roll day one.
it
I
seemed
mean,
like it was in the middle of the field. Yeah, I
yeah,
felt like it was in the middle of the field. Yeah. Oh, he'll definitely
yeah,
come in and start day one. Uh, Even if he's not good, they need him to start day one. Because that was I thought was the biggest weakness. What was they could still get some pressure on Brady towards the end, but it felt like in the middle of the field they felt lost, and Brady was able to get the ball out of his hands fairly quickly, either through a slant route, crossing route, and then when they weren't able to get to him and Brady had time,
yeah,
then
yeah.
he would be able
But
to go
I
through
mean, with those weapons though,
a
Brady was
progression and
just
just
like,
pick
well,
apart
like
the
my
secondary.
first read, second read, and third
So
read are all open. Like, so who hasn't caught a ball yet? And that's basically what he did the whole time, just because they couldn't get pressure on him. Uh,
yeah,
I will say, so back to the Kansas City Chiefs, one of my
yeah,
favorite picks that
yeah.
they made. So like I said, they lost Sammy Watkins, and they're going to struggle to pay some other weapons. So they went out and they drafted Cornell Powell at the end of the fifth round at pick 181. Cornell Powell was the number one receiver on Clemson last year.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
not he's
And they got him with the
nothing.
181st overall pick.
He's not very fast. He's not the most agile guy, but he runs crisp routes and has solid hands. And when you're looking for a number two or three wide receiver like that, he is a
Hmm.
quality wide receiver two or three right now. Like he's a guy that can come in and get you 40 catches for 600 to 800 yards and a few touchdowns.
Yeah,
I think right now, and so for me, that I remember I watched them make that pick.
yeah,
I was just like, come on, like they get another one, and so
yeah, yeah. Well, and also he seems like if I'm not mistaken, he's a much
he's not. I
bigger
wouldn't say
guy,
he's like a
which
big guy.
totally
Like he's not
offsets
DK
like
Metcalf
with
big,
Tyreek Hill on
but
the
he's
other side of
not
the ball
like I think I
too.
want
So
to say
it's
he's like 6 foot 6'1", probably like 200. Like
yeah,
yeah. But I mean,
yeah.
he has this nice finesse with
Okay,
his
okay.
routes.
But still a little bit more
If
physical then.
if the
It
viewers
is
get a
okay.
chance to
Yeah,
go out and watch this, look up Cornell Powell versus Sean Wade. That was Ohio State's number one corner in that semifinal, and he had one route. He kind of ran like an
yeah.
exaggerated comeback. So I think he starts going out wide, or no, he starts going in the middle, like he's going to run a crossing route, and then he goes up the field, and then he does a comeback towards the sideline, and Sean Wade just falls down.
Hmm.
Like he just absolutely falls down and just gets embarrassed. And that Sean Wade went in the
Yeah.
fourth or fifth round to
The nice ankle breaker.
Baltimore,
Yeah.
and so it, a guy like Cornell Powell, I think, is
I
a
think so. Yeah.
fantastic pick for the Kansas City Chiefs, especially in round five. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
yeah,
all things considered, especially if you include the Orlando Brown, like I give them an A-. I know overall throughout this whole draft review, been a
yeah,
little bit more liberal with my draft grades overall. Just because after the first couple picks,
yeah,
probably my knowledge of these players have gone down a little bit, so they might fit their scheme better overall.
yeah,
But that being said, if you're including Orlando Brown as their number one overall
yeah.
pick,
For me, I'm gonna go with a
then
B
that
plus just because
then
they
that's
didn't really have a first round
a
pick.
great
If we're grading
overall
the
draft pick.
overall offseason, I'm gonna go with an A because I think they obviously solved that offensive
Hmm.
line problem. Uh, so
Yeah,